From the very first scream, the day already felt wrong. It echoed across the quiet, tree-lined path of Crescent Park, cutting through the calm morning like a blade. People walking their dogs froze. A few joggers slowed, unsure whether to run toward the sound or away from it. But most of them looked down and kept going, pretending they heard nothing, because that is what the world had become. Too busy, too numb, too hesitant to get involved. And right there, in the middle of that stillness, a wheelchair lay tilted at an angle in the grass, a small service dog yelping helplessly beside it, and a group of wealthy teenagers laughing as if cruelty were nothing more than a game they had a right to play. If you believe kindness, courage, and second chances still matter in this world, please like this video, comment your thoughts, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to the channel. Your support truly keeps stories like this alive. The woman in the wheelchair was named Clara. She was 33, soft-spoken, and carried a sadness that clung to her like a shadow. Years ago, a drunk driver had shattered her spine, taking not only her ability to walk but also her confidence, her job as a schoolteacher, and the life she once imagined for herself. The world felt bigger and harder now. But she still came to the park every morning because it was the only place where she could breathe without feeling like she was taking up space she no longer deserved. Her dog, Daisy, a loyal golden retriever with warm eyes, was the one creature that made her feel safe. Daisy was trained to help her navigate slopes, open small doors, and even calm her down during panic attacks. Daisy was not just a dog, she was the bridge between the life Clara had lost and the one she struggled to rebuild. But on this particular morning, life reminded Clara again how cruel it could be. The group of teens, dressed in designer jackets, expensive sneakers, and arrogance that came from growing up in houses where consequences didn't exist, had been circling her for several minutes. They recorded her on their phones, mocking her trembling hands, imitating the way she pushed the wheels and asking her if she liked being a burden on society. Clara tried to roll away, her face burning with humiliation, but one of them stepped in front of her, blocking her path. Another grabbed the small bag hanging on the back of her chair and threw it across the grass. And the last one, who seemed to enjoy the cruelty more than the others, kicked Daisy so hard that the dog cried out in pain and stumbled sideways. Clara's heart cracked wide open. Daisy never left her side, never complained, never fought back. To hear her dog cry and not be able to protect her made something inside Clara collapse. She felt small, powerless, and ashamed. She didn't scream. She didn't fight. She simply froze, the same way she had frozen the night of her accident. Her body was whole back then, but her courage had shattered, and she had never fully gotten it back. People watched. No one intervened. It was easier not to. But someone did hear. Someone did move. A tall man in a faded gray hoodie was jogging along the outer path of the park, headphones in, eyes down, trying to outrun his own restless mind. His name was Noah Reeves, a retired Navy SEAL who had come back from service with scars no one could see and nightmares he rarely talked about. He had been in the military for 15 years, surviving missions that should have killed him, but the thing that frightened him most was ordinary life. Civilian life felt too quiet, too unpredictable, too detached from the clear purpose he once had. He no longer knew where he belonged, but he ran every morning because it was the only thing that kept his ghosts from swallowing him whole. When he heard Daisy's agonized yelp, he froze mid-stride. Something inside him, something instinctive, trained, and unshakable, switched on. He ripped out his headphones and turned toward the sound. His eyes locked instantly onto the scene, the toppled wheelchair, the trembling woman, the laughing teens, the injured dog. His chest tightened. In one breath, he was no longer a man running in a park. He was a protector, a warrior, someone who could not and would not stand aside while cruelty took center stage. He ran toward them with a force that made the teens stumble back in surprise. Noah was not loud. He didn't have to be. His presence alone, the storm in his eyes, the rigid tension in his jaw, sent a jolt of fear through the group. These were teenagers used to intimidating others, not being confronted by someone whose life had been built on confronting danger. They tried to laugh it off, pretend it was all a joke, but Noah's expression made it clear that nothing about this moment was funny. He helped Clara sit upright, gently lifting the wheelchair and checking Daisy's leg. Clara could barely speak, but she whispered an apology, as if she were the one who had done something wrong. It broke Noah's heart in a way he hadn't expected. He saw in her the quiet suffering he had seen in many people, those who had been hurt so deeply that they stopped believing they had the right to defend themselves. He felt anger rise inside him, not the kind that explodes recklessly, but the kind that rises protectively, the kind that has a mission. The teens tried to walk away, muttering excuses about just playing around, but Noah stopped them with nothing more than a look that held years of discipline and unwavering strength. He took out his phone, recorded them, made them pick up Clara's belongings, made them apologize, not for him, but for her, so she could hear that her pain mattered, that someone was willing to stand up for her when the world had looked the other way. People around them finally began to record the scene, but Noah didn't care about going viral. He cared about the trembling woman whose trust in humanity had been crushed too many times. Once the teens left, Clara tried to thank him, but her voice broke. Noah didn't ask questions. He simply stayed beside her until her hands stopped shaking, until Daisy curled gently against her leg again, and until the color returned to her face. He asked her if she wanted him to escort her home, and after a long hesitation, she nodded. It had been a long time since she allowed anyone to help her like that, but something about Noah felt safe, steady, and honest, like a lighthouse she hadn't known she needed. Their walk home was slow, quiet, and unexpectedly healing for both of them. Clara shared in broken fragments how she had lost everything after her accident, her job, her independence, her fiancé who couldn't handle her new reality, her sense of purpose. Noah listened with the kind of attention that made her feel seen for the first time in years, and although he didn't say much, Clara sensed he was carrying his own invisible wounds. Over the next few weeks, Noah began meeting Clara in the park every morning, not by plan, not by arrangement. It simply became their rhythm. He walked beside her while she pushed her wheelchair along the paths, Daisy trotting proudly between them. They talked, they laughed sometimes. They healed in ways neither realized they needed. Clara slowly rediscovered the feeling of being capable, while Noah rediscovered the feeling of being needed, of protecting someone not because it was his job, but because it brought warmth back into a heart that had gone cold. One morning, Clara confessed that she missed teaching but feared no school would accept a wheelchair-bound teacher. Noah didn't give her empty encouragement. He helped her research schools, rewrite her resume, and practice interviews. He treated her not like someone broken, but like someone powerful who simply needed someone to believe in her again. When she finally got a job at a community learning center, she cried in the hallway as Noah sat beside her. He didn't say anything, but his eyes softened, and she realized that somewhere along the way, he had become a piece of her courage she had never expected to find. Months passed, and people who saw them in the park began to smile warmly, sensing a bond that was growing in quiet depth. Clara's confidence grew. Daisy recovered quickly, and Noah, though still haunted by remnants of his past, found peace in the simple acts of walking beside her, pushing her wheelchair when the path got steep, and knowing that he had brought light back into a life that deserved more than suffering. But life, unpredictable as ever, tested them again. One evening, as Clara was leaving work, she saw the same group of teens waiting near the parking lot, their eyes cold and mocking. They had seen the viral video of the confrontation months earlier and blamed her for the consequences they faced at home and school. They began shouting at her again, circling her, taunting her, threatening to break her wheelchair this time. Fear gripped her chest. Old panic resurfaced. She pressed Daisy's harness, hoping her dog would not be hurt again. And then, like fate repeating itself with a different storm, Noah's car turned the corner. He instantly recognized the danger. He got out, stepped between them and Clara, his presence more powerful now than ever, but this time he did more than confront them. He called the police, reported the threats, and ensured that these teens would finally face real consequences. Clara watched him stand firm, unwavering, unafraid, not as a former soldier but as someone who cared for her deeply. That night, as he drove her home, she looked at him with the kind of gratitude that can never be spoken fully. Something shifted between them, something warm and fragile and real. She realized she wasn't scared anymore, not of the world, not of her limitations, not of the future. Because Noah had shown her that strength didn't always look like walking on two legs. Sometimes it looked like enduring, surviving, rising again, despite the world's cruelty. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, comment, and subscribe. Your support helps us bring more real, powerful stories to life. Before the ending, here is a special request. Please comment below, what would you do if you saw someone being bullied like Clara was? Your words may inspire someone else to act with courage. And in the quiet glow of that moment between two people who had saved each other in different ways, Clara smiled softly. Not because her life was suddenly perfect, but because she finally felt seen, protected, and valued. Noah looked ahead at the road, unaware that she was watching him with a warmth she thought she would never feel again. And Daisy, curled in the back seat, let out a gentle sigh, as if she too understood that this chapter of their lives had finally begun to heal the broken pieces of the past. Some stories don't end with dramatic miracles or sudden transformations. Some end with something much more human. Two hearts learning to trust again, two lives intertwining gently, and one small act of courage that changed everything.